What's up guys, welcome back to the BroCast. On this week's episode, Fallout 4 is a huge success, Path of Exile has a new expansion coming out, and Paladins has just entered closed beta. So as a huge Path of Exile fan or enthusiast, I am thrilled to see that yet another expansion, Ascendancy, is going to be released for Path of Exile, and it's going to be released in the near future. The name itself of the expansion comes from the Trials of Ascendancy. This is a new gameplay mode featured in the expansion. Here you will be faced with 6 different challenges with various traps and mechanics looking to kill you. Isn't it always? Eventually you'll be able to participate in the Lord's Labyrinth, a much more challenging zone, and by completing this you will gain access to new Ascendancy subclasses, of which there is 19 in total to choose from. And these are directly integrated with your skill tree, and depending on which class you're playing, each will have different subclasses to choose from. And the purpose of the subclass system is, according to GGG, to add a little more flavor to each of the classes to make the choice of choosing a character more impactful, and hopefully this will create more class diversity by opening up for many more options and ways you can spec into your character. This is pretty cool, and it's really one of those things I've been looking forward to for a very long time for Path of Exile. I've always felt that while it's cool that you can choose a lot of different classes and almost do the same build, it makes it more interesting when you have to choose a character, and that specific character you can do something unique that you can't do with the other characters, at least in my opinion. I like it, I'm looking forward to it, but it's Path of Exile, what's not to look forward to, right? And in case you're wondering when the expansion will be out, we've been told that it will be early 2016, whatever that means. Next up, unless you've been living under a rock, it's probably not a big surprise to you that Fallout 4 has been a huge success both financially but also in the way it has been received by its peers. First of all, Fallout 4 set the record as the most viewed game launch of all 2015 games on Twitch. Secondly, Fallout 4 sold 12 million copies and generated over $750 million in its first 24 hours. Comparatively, these numbers obliterate the over $550 million that Call of Duty Black Ops 3 generated in its first 72 hours. Additionally, the game has received some very promising reviews from various gaming sites. IGN gave it a 9.5 out of 10, Metacritic gave it a 4 out of 5, and GameSpot gave it a 9 out of 10. And that's just to name a few, although it is kind of funny because if you look at Metacritic, a lot of the user reviews aren't actually that good. It says 5.5 or something like that. I'm wondering what that is. I know Fallout 4 didn't live up to some expectations for a certain player base, and I can relate to some of that. In my opinion, after having played the game for at least 150 hours, I can say that I would probably give Fallout 4 an 8 out of 10, whereas I would give New Vegas a 9 out of 10. And the reason being is that, in my opinion, Fallout 4 is a wonderful game, very, very enjoyable, but it lacks the RPG elements and depth that New Vegas had, and I would really like to see that added to the game. Maybe it will be with future content or DLCs or something like that, but we'll see. But I can understand why some people have been a bit critical towards the game. It feels a bit more, or a lot more like an FPS game now, but still a very enjoyable game. Oh, and a recent statistic actually shows that 14.5% of all the people who bought Fallout 4 haven't left the vault yet. I mean, why? Well, I guess there can be many reasons, but still, it's kind of funny. And now the last thing I want to bring up today is that the team-based FPS, card-based, arena, MOBA, things like that, the Paladins game from Hi-Rez Studios has gone into closed beta. Yeah, I really don't know how to categorize it, and I'm not sure they do either. But anyway, Paladins is an upcoming video game title developed by Hi-Rez Studios, as I said, the same developers behind Smite, as you probably know. The game is rooted in a colorful sci-fi fantasy setting featuring champions, which, as you know, basically is playable characters or heroes that have their own unique fire functions and abilities. The combat in Paladins is also nearly entirely skill shot based, meaning that, for instance, projectiles can be dodged and you have to aim, etc., etc. And a unique gameplay feature of Paladins is that it features a deck building card system that augments a champion in different ways of your choosing. And this of course opens up for some interesting team battles where you will see shoutcasters commentating on the different augments that this team has versus this team. It's almost like a MOBA in that regard, where you see hero drafts versus this hero draft and things like that. I like that, it sounds pretty cool. And yes, as you've probably noticed, it does look a bit like Overwatch or Battleborn, which are also in development right now and coming out. But yeah, I guess it's the time for the PvP arena MOBA shooters team player shot FPS genre of games to rise and take the mantle of popular games. I don't know. But that's it for this week's BroCast. But before we end, I would like to ask you guys, how many of you guys have played Fallout 4? And if you have, do you agree with the critics' reviews of this? How would you rate Fallout 4? And secondly, some of you guys have probably seen Overwatch, Battleborn, and Paladins. And if you compare these three, which of these three games are you mostly interested in trying out for yourself? That's it for this week's BroCast. Thank you very much for watching. Remember to subscribe for more gaming news. And bros, do you even nerd?